This is the What I Need podcast, a shared journey exploring topics of society, spirituality, and even ways of being. Here, we speak freely and fully, from the heart and the conscious mind, in hopes to find what we need. Thank you, for your time is valuable and you could have been anywhere else in the universe. All of you are welcomed and appreciated here.
Welcome to the What I Need podcast. I know this is supposed to be season 2, but I am actually coming at you from the side of the road. We are up underneath this bushel tree, and I am sitting here. Just kind of waiting out the rain. Sometimes, Mother Nature is just here to support, and you have to get up under that umbrella of support from Mother and just be covered and just be there within your coverage, And sometimes people miss out on their coverage because they didn't see where it was, They didn't know that it was right there before them to be covered and to be sheltered. Let me stop. But also type blessed. So, welcome to the What I Need podcast. You know what? There's no way I can do this out here because there's something really cool in my room I want to show you. But we're going to show you that in 5, 3, 2, 1. Skirt. You know what? Actually, no. We're going to do the episode outside, and I'm going to make that a whole nother other episode when I get back to my house. So welcome to the What I Need podcast. Today, let me just do a in general, vibe check with myself, and I'm just going to try to be candid, and vaping is bad, but I'm going to vape on this episode. So I want to be I want to consider myself human at times. I think we all do. And I think we all tend to have this idea of somehow being outside of that at some point. That at some point we stopped being without flaws, even though we know we have them, and we know that people that we have flaws. They know that we're not perfect, but it seems like in our own mind that sometimes we had forgot to remember. I can't remember to forget you. We had Shakira, Rihanna, remember to forget that we are only human, and that we are all equally human, and to hold in heart, in mind, a level of empathy for all beings. And I think when it's kind of like a mirror thing. But anyway, I was doing some empathy work over this weekend in an area where I know some individuals are going through a little bit of a harder time than most, or a different time than most. And I don't want to give all the details to that, but doing some prayer work in that area, just over the land itself, and doing an empathy meditation. Excuse me. I just ate a bunch of pizza. I'm going to try to... Okay. So, I did some prayer work and some meditation on empathy in this area where I know there are some people living on the land there, some in tents and some just outside, dealing with personal afflictions. And I went into a practice of empathy, putting my hand over my heart and allowing my meditation to guide me into what they may be feeling and to kind of empathize with that on a conscious level, which was very outer body. I felt almost as if the individuals were with me, hearing and feeling of this empathy and being relieved in ways that can uplift them. But I think it was also my frame of mind changing toward myself and how I see my own shortcomings, and also how I look at others that have shortcomings, outside of topic, even outside of nuance. Everybody has their own shortcomings, and it's not even really for us to compare and contrast of the nature of the shortcoming, but to have a empathizing compassion and forgiveness that allows the veil and delusion of separation to cause harm. Wow. And it was just powerful to get a chance to be privy to that unfolding of information. And I'm glad that I kind of on the fly here share it on today's show. If you have not got the chance to, next time maybe you're at odds with someone, next time you see somebody that has a situation that you don't understand, maybe you disagree with it, but you want to understand it because you maybe you think of it or have to deal with it content-wise, mentally, at work, on your way to work. Maybe it's somebody that you have to pass by or deal with. I don't know. Maybe there's just something you want to understand. Maybe somebody has become sick in your family or in your friends group or something near to you that you want to understand. Oh my goodness, how must they feel to go through each and every day? How can I support them? How can I say something to them? Or maybe I think it's powerful medicine for when you're at odds with someone. And I've had this problem recently in trying to exist where I've had some places where I've had to exist, and try to talk to others that may be not yet in a place of optimism to emerge from dark situations, personal trials. And a lot of times I have been met with a very absolutely not. I do not want to hear about your personal healing. I do not want to hear about any of that. And I'm like, oh my goodness. But I'm like, okay, I have to, of course I don't want to push anything on anyone. And it's like, if you're good just how you are, go ahead. I just have noticed it seemed like there was suffering going on, and I know a couple things that help that completely heal some of our sufferings, So I often try to share the things that I found that can do that for someone, just out of, I don't know, even common sense, but out of compassion, really. I have been met with pushback at some time. And before we think, oh, those people must be crazy, and this and that, we know Karlton has a good heart. We know that he means well. Beside all of that, what would be the highest level, I feel like, is before we place judgment, why didn't they want to heal? What was going on with that? Why do they feel so anti or pushy against somebody who's friendly? Even that. When I took a look with a heart of empathy onto the situation, things began to get broken down to me. You know what? This person didn't trust nobody. It doesn't matter who you are. It is not, don't take anything personally, because it's not about you. This person had experienced several individuals or groups of people that turned out to be untrustworthy, that their trust was broken by new acquaintances, even trust broken by old acquaintances in the place that they were at. So there's no reason that they wouldn't be the way that they were. And then that question becomes answered because you feel into it with a heart of empathy. You begin to see and feel things from the point of view of the other person. So in that gaze of empathy, not only do you find an emotional understanding, you're probably finding forgiveness, and you're probably finding a lot of discernment. So see, when we think about discernment and how some people seem to be so good at that, it comes from paying attention to the details. And this is not some sappy woo-woo stuff, when we talk about practicing empathy. It's not meant to be used as some kind of psychological weapon either. We live in America, so I just like to say that. It's not meant to be used as some kind of psychological weapon. And I think with the advent of, now it's starting to rain here. It's all good though, we're covered. The advent of empathy being an inherently emotional practice and concept, you end up approaching it from a place of heart where you are not thinking of attacking someone. So you're actually getting what I like to, like, why do I bring up attacking? Let me go into that a little bit. I bring up, there might be a lot of sounds. I bring up attacking because so many things are weaponized. I think even, forms of healing and like shamanism, people think that it can be weaponized, but a true form of shamanism cannot be weaponized. Like the truest form of it is to heal the community. Now, in the eyes of spiritual warfare, I think when there is sometimes darkness that is being allowed to stay in areas longer than it is being productive, because we do believe people go through their darkness for a reason, and that shadow work is beneficial because it engages and expands consciousness. Anytime you go through a hardship, you really are testing your faith, testing your humanity, testing your consciousness, testing your life force, right? So I want to survive. That's like giving. You want to survive. That's like giving glory to God for your life. Even to want to survive. So yes, sometimes, shaman, we come to remove darkness where life needs to grow and have healing and health. And sometimes that darkness, it tries to, if it knows that it's going to get destroyed, it tries to play victim. Like we're interested in smiting and slaying, and that we're so bad because energy never dies, but we're trying to extinguish theirs. Like bomba clock to that. Like we know when it's a helpful rough patch that patients are going through, and we can also see just about when somebody is being self-tormenting. When you're going against yourself, this is sin. When something that goes against yourself is technically a sin. Now, people, you're allowed to sin. You have the choice to do it anyway. But how long do you want to suffer? Because you do that to you. Some people out here, we good. Because we understand what I mean, go against yourself. Sin, people talking about, oh, whatever. No, you felt it. You felt it. So you can't say no, whatever. So it really becomes it's between you and you. Your healing, your recovery, your overcoming. People think they got this big thing to shake their fist against God. Like, no, it's you on you, baby. It's your choice. If it happened to go against you, yes, that's a sin. And then if it happened to hurt only you, then that's all you on you. Also, don't be hurting other people, because what? All this stuff, it connects. So I guess I take a moment to mention attacking, or medicinal concepts being trying to be reverse engineered into something that could be any kind of weapon. No, you just making your karma that much more ridiculous. You want to make it good. So, empathy, and I talked about all that stuff right now, kind of got worked up, talked about going against self, people going against other. I'm really off that, and I hope more and more people, namaste, ashe, hallelujah, off that feeling of scarcity, lack, and that you've got to do something to someone in order to remain, when that's not true, So anyway, thrive off of abundance, thrive off the unlimited abundance that the universe has for us. Even just admitting where we are right now, you can't tell me that there's not more. Okay? And the way that we can make space for more peace, the way that we can institute, being a part of creating more conscious peace, is living in a beautiful, harmonious, which I feel like harmony is spiritual. In a beautiful, harmonious, spiritual way, I'm having a conflict with someone. Let me use the power of empathy to understand. Let me use the power of empathy and meditation to manifest a proper solution of no conflict, no sweat off my brow, no sweat off theirs, nobody bloodied and beaten, nobody hit over head with a baseball bat, nobody thrown in jail, nobody shot by the police. Do you really want all that drama, or can you take a moment to use the power of empathy and meditation to manifest a non-conflict situation? Because we have seen all the other stuff go down. I have seen all that other stuff that I just said. I have seen those things happen. Most of them. Thank goodness, not all of them actually. Because it's too much. That's too much to be going on. Use the power of empathy. Meditate your mind on the situation. Oh, I had an argument with this person. Oh, they didn't pay me my money yet. Oh, you know what? I think I need to, behave differently around such and such. I think I shouldn't go over there no more. Hit up the mind of empathy and the feeling of empathy to empathize and understand other beings that you don't yet have an understanding for. Instead of beating their ass, some of you is out here acting up. And on an all serious note, in my city of Grand Rapids, I believe just yesterday or today, a 20-something-year-old was shot over some kind of argument, over something that they're no longer here. So there are things going on, RIP and condolences to that young man. I don't yet know his name, but I have heard of it, through the grapevine that happened in my city. And I do this show because I have seen the power of empathy work in my own life when it comes to me dealing with people that I might have been at odds with. And instead of it escalating, because it very well could, things can escalate. We don't never know which way. Sometimes the world go left, it go brazy. This is not all huggy-wuggy, woo-woo spiritual stuff. Sometimes using the power of empathy in your situation, you know how to move around individuals. Because sometimes that empathy will tell you, you know what? This person isn't thinking with emotional intelligence at all. They are mute on emotional intelligence. So they may go off. So you know what? My intuition says I can go around that. My discernment now says, oh no, I can't fool with them because they don't got none. Now you had just intuitively dodged mayhem from some individuals. So even out here in these streets, spirituality, meditation, get in touch with your higher self, your higher power, be connected and tapped in. That's a way of life. Just being out here and not knowing what's coming from what way, who was envious, who was jealous, who was out their damn mind. We have to raise our awareness. We have to have an expanded awareness. Because when we have that expanded awareness, and this is what I'm saying. This is why I even asked to smoke my vape on the show today. Here, this is what I'm saying. I am not perfect. Sound like an affirmation, but it's true. I am not perfect. And when I'm coming to share on these topics, it's not that I'm expecting everyone to be a prim and proper meditator and they are never ever going to dabble in this and that ever again, and they're so much better because they have just meditated and their soul is pure and their spirit is pure because all of their chakras are aligned and spirituality, like, no, this is just an extra toolkit for you to survive all that's going on, and it is an ancient toolkit. It had already been here before you thought you had closed it. You know, what's spiritual about a gun? So which one is more dangerous? Expand your awareness. Use your spiritual faculties, your mental faculties to ponder on empathy when you don't understand the person across from you. To create an expanded consciousness and to expand on peace. The reason why we do that is not only to look at the lilies of the field, be free, but to literally in our communities be able to touch that which we can't even fathom. So that way, somewhere, somehow, that kind of worked its way to someone on the other side of town, and empathy took effect instead of violence. Where a thought popped up in that person's head because they had heard about empathy, because somebody had told them about empathy, because they did a meditation on empathy, because they thought about Jesus with empathy, because they thought about, their brother with empathy, because they thought about the hood with empathy. It's your hood. Most time it's your hood. It's our hood. You don't got no empathy for the hood? You don't have no empathy for the people that walk around you in your same area? Like, we ought to meditate on empathy sometimes. So, that has been an impromptu episode of the What I Need podcast. We're literally out here in the middle of, I don't even know what street this is. It might be Bridge Street. And I'm not in the hood today. I'm on the northwest side, but child, it's hot out in these streets, and I'm not saying that jokingly. And this is why we cover ourselves, This is why we cover ourselves. This is why we adopt self-care practices. This is why we move up out the way. That's why we try to move ourselves out the way more often. This is why we try, even though we're not perfect. And sometimes we went outside on a Tuesday, Thursday, or whatever, and then we stayed inside the rest of the week. This is why we just try. And I'm not expecting nobody to be perfect. I'm not expecting anybody to be a perfect angel just because you have began self-care, just because you have began. But what I do hope for you is that you're gaining progress towards something that looks more like that than a chaos violence insider. Because it can get all the way ugly. That chaos, they just keep going and going. So we focus on that which is higher. We focus on empathy. I thank you so much for joining me on today's podcast. And I'd like to say, first of all, condolences to that young man whose life was taken. And I am thankful for my well-being. I am thankful for the well-being of others. Thank you. This has been the What I Need podcast. And your host, King Karlton. Take care.